All right, everybody. Good late afternoon, spilling into the evening here, and we've got some preseason games on right now. We got Broncos Falcons, we've got Dolphins Commanders, got a couple other games kicking off as well, so I'm enjoying that as much as I can, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. Main event for us is tomorrow, but before we get there, I got a little bit of Seattle Seahawks news that I want to get into here. And this is not a surprise. I think most of us saw this coming. I've talked about it before. It felt relatively telegraphed, but I do want to discuss this real quick because this is the first time we've gotten concrete confirmation of this, and I think that is worth something. So let's talk a little bit about DeMarcus Lawrence and his future in the NFL. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. And DeMarcus Lawrence's future in the NFL basically does not exist because this is going to be his 13th season. And according to Jory Epstein, which is an unfortunate name, kind of, but regardless, according to Jory Epstein, DeMarcus Lawrence is making 2026 the final year of his career. And this comes from the player himself, not somebody close to the player, not somebody guessing. This comes from DeMarcus Lawrence himself. And look, when we learned a couple weeks ago that DeMarcus Lawrence almost retired last offseason, or I guess you would say this offseason, it's not really a surprise that he would make 2026 the end of it. So this is basically allowing us to kind of prepare for life after DeMarcus Lawrence. And I know he's only been here 1 year and this will be his second year, but he has really ingratiated himself to me as I can't call him a legendary Seahawk, but a Seahawk that I'm going to have a lot of, affection for looking back at his time here on the team. Kind of like a Patrick Kearney, where he wasn't necessarily with the team for a long time, but the time that he spent here in Seattle was so good and so valuable and contributed to so much awesome stuff with the team that it's hard to not be very appreciative of him, even though there might be some players that played for your team for over a decade that you might not have those same feelings towards. So DeMarcus Lawrence, last year of his career. So what exactly does that mean? Well, it on the surface level, it means we know that in 2027, he's not going to be here. And while it is possible for a player to change his mind, I don't think this is going to happen here because there's very good reasons why DeMarcus Lawrence might want to spend more time at home. He's got a lot of kids. And again, he almost did it last season. I doubt he's going to change his mind here. So that's the first part of it. But the second part, and I think the element that we should understand here is that DeMarcus Lawrence is probably doing this. There's probably some element of like motivation because we've seen this before. A player, typically a really great player, somebody that is well respected in the locker room and well liked by his teammates, will declare before the season starts that I'm going to retire at the end of the year to kind of motivate the squad to come together around him and rally the troops to propel the team to the highest heights possible. But it's also probably because, on top of the six kids thing, physically he doesn't feel the same as he did in previous years or even last year. He's probably aware of the fact that he can't do what he used to be able to do, and that's something to keep in mind as we get this season started. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer, best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today and remember to always gamble responsibly. So what I mean by that is you take a look at what DeMarcus Lawrence meant for the Seahawks last season. The Seahawks leaned heavily on D-Law last year. I think they probably leaned on him more than they expected to when the season started. You take a look at his production, 6 sacks, which doesn't sound like anything necessarily amazing, but it was pretty good by the standard of an edge rusher in a Mike McDonald defense. 53 tackles, 11 for a loss, 20 quarterback hits, a career high in approximate value, by the way, Pro Bowl, and most impressively, because this was the part of his game that was supposedly not really there anymore, 39 pressures. And he only played 16 games, so he missed a game and missed, like, I want to say a half of another game. If he had played all 17 games, he's definitely getting to 40 pressures on the season. And he was, generally speaking, the most effective pass rushing edge on this team, while also being maybe the best edge in football against the run. Pro Football Focus did grade him as the number one edge in football in run defense with an 85, on top of obviously thinking relatively highly of him in other categories and ranking him overall as the 13th best edge in football. But you take a look at everything that he did for the team this year. He was this team's best edge rusher, and he was the best edge rusher on the team in multiple categories. I think Nwosu had 7 sacks, so one more sack than D-Law, but D-Law was still a better pass rusher than Nwosu, I think. And you kind of think to yourself, okay, well, now he's 34 years old, and he just announced before the season even started he's retiring. We can't count on him to produce at that level again. Because if he was able to play at that level this season, I think it's less likely that he would be thinking about retiring. I wouldn't rule it out. It's not impossible, of course, but I would expect him to at least have a decision to make. So I'm expecting less production from DeMarcus Lawrence in 2026 because that's how athletes typically work. There's a decline at the end of your career before you hang it up. If you can still play at your peak level, you're going to stick around. And with the exception of maybe those 2 seasons in Dallas where he had double-digit sacks, last year was basically a peak year for DeMarcus Lawrence. He was right up there with the best seasons he's ever had, especially with his run defense and especially with the fact that he was a contributor on one of the best defenses in the league, probably the best defense in the league, which I don't think you could ever say before for any other season he had. And he also played a lot of snaps. He played 626 snaps in 16 games. If he hadn't missed the game and a half, he's almost definitely getting to about 700 snaps on the season. So the expectation needs to be that we ramp that down a little bit so he doesn't run out of gas by the end of the season, and we don't expect him to play at the level that he did last year and put all that pressure on him. So Derek Hall's got to step it up. Nwosu's got to maintain the level of play that he had in the first half of the season last year over the whole season this year. And Dante Fowler needs to be an improvement over Boye Mafe. And all those things can happen. All those things are totally possible. But I don't want to go into games this season thinking to myself, DeMarcus Lawrence has to dominate and get into the backfield every other play or else we're not going to win. We need to have the proper expectations here. Like, he had 39 pressures last season. Maybe this year we'll be getting 30. He had 6 sacks. Maybe this year he's going to get more like 5 or 4. And we're not going to live in a world where we're going to resent him for that because we needed it. And that might demand some kind of a trade deadline acquisition of another edge rusher to take the pressure off. Maybe it's a big one like Max Crosby. Maybe it's a little one like Kayvon Thibodeau. Maybe it's one of the Steelers guys because they've got 3 edge rushers that are making big, or at least noticeable money. You might have to throw another guy into the mix here so D-Law has the opportunity to pace himself. So I think D-Law is going to be very good this year because he's going to be really good against the run like he always is. And that's really important in this defense. But as a pass rusher, I would not expect him to dominate the way he did last year. And we need to be cool with that as Seahawks fans. I don't want this to be a situation where we end up thinking to ourselves, Well, we didn't get D-Law, we didn't get 40 pressures out of D-Law this season, and that's a big disappointment, and that's why we didn't get to where we wanted to get to. That shouldn't be the expectation for a player at this age who is on the way out. He can still help us, but I would not expect a throwback year the way he had last year. Now, the other consideration would be now we know exactly what to expect with salary cap stuff because now that we know that D-Law is retiring next season, we know exactly what the books are going to look like. So his cap hit next year is 12.8 million and the dead cap on him is 2.3. So basically, if he retires, my understanding is that you save $10.5 million against the cap and you only owe him 2.3. So that is pretty favorable. Granted, if D-Law can still play at the level that he's been playing at, and even if he diminishes significantly, I think he's well worth this kind of a cap hit. I think he's easily worth 13 million for a season, even if he's just a good run defender. But that's not really the choice we have, right? We don't have the opportunity to convince him otherwise. The only thing that'll convince DeMarcus Lawrence to not retire is himself. So knowing that, there's a minimal dead cap hit on the D-Law retirement, and it I made a video about this a week or two ago talking about how to free up 2027 cap space. This is one step towards it. All right, so that is the D-Law stuff. It's been great. It's been real. I appreciate having him here. I appreciate having him here for one more season. I'm glad he did not decide to retire this offseason because that would have left us in a very difficult spot. And I just hope that we can send him out on top now that he's made this official. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. DeMarcus Lawrence, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service for the upcoming season. And let's send him out a 2-time champion. All right, go Hawks. Might be another video later. We will see.